Hi guys, I'm Disco Dave from Disco Tech, and today I'm going to be showing you how to create a double clickable button in .NET Winforms. So although WinForms aren't generally used in the day-to-day anymore, I still found myself using one just a couple of weeks back when I needed to create a special application, and I also needed to implement double clicking on a button, and I was finding that it just didn't work. So I figured I'd put a tutorial together for those people who do need to have this functionality. Now we all know the functionality of a standard button. If I just double click into the button here to go into the code behind, it automatically creates the button one click event, and if I just throw a message box in there and say click, when I run that application, if I click this button, it just comes up click. That's fine, we know how that works. Now, what if I want to make that button double clickable? Well, if I go and click it and hit F4 to go to the properties pane, and now move over to events, you'll see that there is no double click event. You've got doc change, DPI change, blah, 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 drag over, but no double click event. You've only got click. So how do we enable a double click event on a button? Well, we need to do a little bit more work. So first of all, we're going to go up to our Solution Explorer. We're going to right click, we're going to add, and we're going to add a new class. We're going to call this double click button. And then we've got our new class. First thing we're going to do, make this class public, and we're going to inherit it from the button class. So you see we've got the squigglies here. I use control and full stop or dot or period or whatever one you want to call it to bring up this little window here and bring the system Windows Forms namespace into the application. Now I'm going to create a simple parameterless constructor. So public double click button. Now in here we're going to use a method that is exposed to us from the button class called setStyle. And inside here we're going to do control styles dot standard double click, comma, and then true. Now if you want to pass extra flags into here as well, control styles standard click, you can do. You just use a pipe to separate the flags, and these will go in there, okay? And we're setting these to true, we're turning them on, semicolon on the end, and that is our button type actually built. Now how do we add it to the screen? Because we don't have it in our box here yet. We go to build and hit build solution. Once that's built, you'll notice this bar just jumps ever so slightly. If you now scroll up, you see we've got our double click button here that we can drag and drop onto the screen, and you'll see it behaves like any other button. If I go to the properties, you'll see all the standard properties there. Of course, double click isn't listed. And if I go to properties on here, you can see everything around a button is there, because at the end of it, it is just derived from the button class. So now how do we make this double clickable? So I'm going to go into the code behind for the form. So I'm just going to double click an empty space on the form. And we're in our form load event. So now I'm going to do double click button 1, which is the name of our button, and do double click. Now I'm going to do the plus and equal symbol and then hit tab, and that will create my new event and say, yes, I'm fine with that. So now I'm going to show a message box, subscribe to Disco Tech. And we're going to save that, and we're going to give it a run. Now you see we've got our standard button with a click and a double click button. That tells you to subscribe to Disco Tech. Now if I go and click that, you'll see there's no click event on there. Double click it, subscribe to Disco Tech. So you might be thinking, if I've wired up the event handler like this to do a double click for that button, can I remove this one and do the exact same thing? Well, no, you can't actually. And you'll see that in action. If I now go and do button 1 dot double click and do a plus equals and hit tab and enter, I've now got a double click event. If I do message box dot show and say button 1 double click and save that and run it, you'll see that when I double click this button, I still get the standard click event firing. So you might think, well, Disco, go into your code and delete this event. So I'll do just that. I'll go to the button here, I'll go to my events, and I'll remove the click handler. Okay, there we go, that's removed. If I go into here now, you'll see no references for this one, so I can go and delete that. And now if I run it again, all we've got attached now is the button 1 double click event. Still nothing. That's because it doesn't, by default, the Windows button doesn't inherit or doesn't set up this set style for standard double click. So you have to extend the button class add this extra little bit of line of code there, and then attach your event handlers as normal. So that's all, guys. Now we've got our double clickable button giving you a very good message there that you should subscribe to Discotech, and in return I'll make sure I bring you tips, tricks and gotchas of the .NET framework and other cool tech stuff as well. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe, and feel free to leave a comment below or ask any questions that you want to ask. Thanks very much for watching. I'm Disco Dave. Have a good day.